one. I had to think. My instinct was to say good morning, everybody, but we know it isn't. Here in Florida, Eastern Standard Time, it is exactly 6 o'clock p.m. 6, sort of, I guess what we call in England, we call it tea time. Okay. And I know that in England, it's, what is it? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 o'clock in the evening. So I'm not sure if everybody's gone to bed or if you're still up. It is whatever date it is. It is October the 31st. I got it wrong this morning. I said it was the 30th because I'm thinking October only has 30 days, but it doesn't. And here we are rambling again. Right. Our Halloween special, and I've got a story for you straight off the bat. But before I start with the spooky story, let me just say hello to Gregel, who is standing to my right side. Hello to Chris. The spooky story happens to connect with Chris. Yes. And let me say hello to all of you. Now, you can have questions. I'd like to hear about your Halloween. I'd like to hear what you're up to, what you're doing. I'd like to hear about your costumes if you're wearing them, or your kids' costumes, or whatever it is. So that's what I'm waiting for. I know that my grandson is with a friend and his mom and friend, and they're with other friends, and they're all going out trick-or-treating. I think it's not about the tricks with them. It's all about the treats. I'm not sure there are going to be any tricks. But anyway, I've got a little pile of chocolate on my table just in case, but we live in a very quiet neighborhood, and I think only once in all the time I've lived here, which is at least 15 years, I've only ever once had one group of kids come to knock on the door for trick-or-treating. I always excuse me, I always make sure I've got something, but anyway. So if I happen to have to get up for trick-or-treating, you'll know that's what's happening. Okay, are we ready? Is there anybody there, Chris? Do we have anybody?
We do. They're sitting, and some have been here waiting for us to go live. They've been in the chat room that long.
Okay, all right. Well, spooky story number 1, and this happened today of all days. Now, today is Chris's husband's birthday. He was born on Halloween. And, he was actually not at all a spooky guy. I shouldn't say, oh, look, there he is. I did not expect that. Hold on, it's going to be that kind of show, I can see right now. So I didn't expect that. I was just about to tell the spooky story. And I have, give me a minute here, I have Chrissy's husband standing in my living room, with standing, sitting, whatever he wants to do. We're actually having a little conversation as I'm talking to you guys. I'm also talking to him. So Chris, what do you think to that?
I'm jealous.
Well, certainly didn't expect it, but if I had thought about it, I should have, shouldn't I? I should have expected it. Anyway, so let me get to this spooky story. Okay, so it's Mike's birthday, so happy birthday to Mike. And he's looking at me, sort of standing waiting. I think he's waiting to see how I'm going to talk about this. Okay, so after the show today, Chris and I, we signed off from everybody, and then we were talking. I don't even remember what we're talking about, not particularly about Mike's birthday. And as we're talking and chatting, I said to Chris, just hold on, I've got a parcel's being delivered. So I got up and went to the door to collect my parcel. And as I got up, I hear Chris saying, oh, wow, look at this. And I couldn't see what she was talking about because I was at the door, and my iPad's here, sort of a different part of the house. Anyway, so I come back and she said, did you see that? Did you see that? She said, it just rained balloons on the screen. It was like the whole of the screen was filled with balloons. And I said, no, I didn't see that. But I said, it is Mike's birthday. And I could hear a chuckle in the background. And so Chris said to me, do you think it's Mike? Do you think it's because it's his birthday? So I asked Gregor, who said, what do you think? Of course. So now remember, when these things happen, you think to yourself, did I press a button on the screen that I shouldn't have pressed? Did I create that for myself? Is it a glitch in the screen or something? What is it that's going on? But it doesn't matter whether it's a glitch, and it doesn't matter, what happened. The thing is that the whole screen was filled with balloons, and Chris was telling me all about it, and we carried on chatting for a little bit longer. And the next thing, I'm just about to say to Chris, okay, I have to go. I've got some chicken to put in a marinade. That's what I was going to do next. I have to go. And the whole screen filled with balloons again, and they were just falling like rain coming down the screen. And Chris says, wow. And I say, wow. And I start laughing because I'm also saying to Mike, yes, I guess it's your birthday. And he's standing here as I'm talking to you now. Now, that's not a spooky sort of, bump in the night scary story, but the amount of people then that Chris told, as she put it, wanting to share the joy and then wanting to assure her that it wasn't real. Oh no, they've, the restream, they've changed what they're doing. They put stuff on that you can, do now and blah, 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 blah. But she said, but I didn't touch the screen. Oh, well, Rosemary must have done it then. Well, Rosemary was at the door the first time and I was sitting back on the sofa just chit-chatting the second time. There are always people who will find reasons that it's not anything other than normal, human, whatever it is they think it is. I'm not quite sure. You can enlighten me there, Chris. But there are always people who will try to, without even realizing it. I don't think it's even deliberate. Chris went to someone after this had happened and she was so excited and so filled with joy. And that person, seeing her face filled with joy, and look, Mike sent me these balloons and he's let me know, he's given me a sign that he's really there. And oh, no. So without consciously being aware, that person just literally for a minute or two or 5 or whatever it was, snatched the joy away from Chris. And so she called me tonight. She's telling me the story, and she said, I was really disappointed. She said for a few minutes there, she said, I just, deflated. I felt, really, she can talk to you in a minute, tell you how she feels. But I mean, does it, and I said to her, does it matter? And does it matter what caused it? Does it matter what happened? Because I saw it and she saw it, and surely that's enough. It's so easy to allow people to give negativity. I'm going to tell another story, spooky story. And I know that Gary's on tonight. Hi, Gary. I'm going to tell Gary's story, which you might have heard before, but I'm going to tell Gary's story. It's not my story to tell. It's Gary's story. But Gary, when I finish telling the story, if I don't get it quite right or whatever, I'd like you to put something up on the message that that's right or this happened or whatever. For all of those doubting Thomases who might be out there, just to, really, it's not for them. It's just for me to make sure that I told the story properly. So, Chris, you get ready to bring your comeback here. I'm going to tell another spooky story. It's Halloween, after all. It's the night of spooky stories. It's the night of, things that go bump in the night. It's the night when witches come out to play. It's the night when my daddy's here. I'm just sorry. It's the night when my daddy just popped his head in there. not oh right, and yeah. I'm sorry, none of you are here to share this, but I've got my daddy here and I've got my brother here, which is really nice. Oh, geez, right. Spooky stories. Right. All right. So it's like, I'm sorry, Greg was saying, don't forget that I'm here as well. And we've got, give me a minute here because my living room is filling up as we speak. And of course, you can't see it. Do you believe it if I'm telling you this? Or do you have your doubts? It's fine. You can have your doubts. You can question. You can think that can't be possible. But it doesn't matter to me, because what matters to me is that I believe. And I said to Chris, you can't convince other people of what happens to you, or you can't convince other people of what you believe and how you believe. And you can't convince other people of your own faith and your own experiences. They're for you, personally for you. And if people you tell get it, great. And if people you tell don't get it, too bad for them. Don't you feel sorry for those people who can't grasp that the spirit world is real, that Mike is here is real? Don't you? I feel very sad for people who have never had that experience, or have had the experience and dismiss it and try to make it into something, sort of let's put common sense, let's apply common sense in. But to me, this is common sense, because I have a father who loves me and, had a tough time showing it when he was here, but loves me nevertheless. I've got a brother who don't see him very often, but I'm sorry, I'm having a little conversation with him, and it's lovely to see him here. That just, anyway, I wish all of you could see this, and I wish all of you could see your own loved ones. And Chris, I wish you could see Mike. Right, I'm getting to Gary's story. So I want to give time for people to have questions and so on. So, all right. So Gary, who is a regular on our shows and who is a student of mine, told me a story. Now, this story happened many years ago. I'm not going to tell them how old you are, Gary, but we're going back at least 50, maybe some years. So Gary was a boy, and he was his grandmother had died, and he knew his grandmother quite well. Please tell me, Gary, if I get this story wrong. He knew his grandmother quite well, and she had died, and the grandmother was living with Gary and his mum, I think. Anyway, okay, right. So Gary is laid in bed, he's curled up, he's fast asleep, and he starts to feel something tug at the bottom of the bed. So I think tugging his feet. And he wakes up and he sort of sits up, because he can see, when I say sits up, lifts his head up, and he sees his grandmother, now deceased, not really, but you know what I mean, standing at the foot of the bed. And he knows that she shouldn't be there, and he's sort of looking at her, and she leans forward and she says to him, "Get out." And he looks at her, and he's a boy. He wants to go back to sleep. Excuse me. He wants to go back to bed. He wants to go back to sleep. And so she leans a little further over the bed, and she says to him again, a little bit louder, "Get out." And he ignores her again. And so the way he tells the story, if I remember it, it's as if she loomed over the bed with her face in his face and yelled at him, "Get out," terrified him to the point where he leapt out of the bed, went running into his mother's bedroom, sort of, shaking and what have you. And his mother grabbed hold of him and, sort of got him in bed with her, and he was trying to tell her what happened, when they hear this enormous crash and the ceiling over his bed literally crashed, literally caved in. Had he been in the bed, he would have been definitely severely injured or killed. The entire ceiling in the bedroom literally crashed down and crashed onto his bed. Spooky, spooky, spooky story. But when you've had experiences like that, if you've ever had an experience of any kind with someone in the spirit world, if you've ever had an experience or you've seen someone or you've heard someone speaking to you or what have you, you know, you doubt yourself. Did that happen? Is that really what happened? But this that happened to Gary, there was no doubt, and as far as I'm aware, he hasn't ever doubted. I wish he were here. I wish we could get him on camera. But anyway, the thing is that things happen. The spirit world protects us when it can, and you know that you can't discount these stories, and there are so many of them from people all over the world that you know when you tell people stories and they try to make sense of it, what they really mean is they're not trying to make sense of it. They're trying to ignore what's really happening. They don't want to know, because if those people who say no, there's no such thing as this stuff, if they accept that there is a spirit world, if they accept that our loved ones in the spirit world are watching us, with us, and so on and so forth. I'm smiling at my daddy who's sort of nodding away at me here. If they have to convince themselves it's not real, because once you realize that it's real, then it changes you, and it changes your life. It changes the way you think, it changes the way you act, it changes the way you react with other people. And a lot of people don't want change. Change scares them. So when people are saying to you, no, that didn't really happen, and oh, Rosemary must have done something with the screen to do that for you, and well, I was at the door accepting a delivery. But when people try to minimize, because it is exciting when these things happen, and it's amazing when these things happen, when people try to minimize or to make less of it, or even to just want to ignore it or deny it, it's more about them. It's more about them not being able to accept it, because if they did, boy, oh boy, they'd have to have a whole change of heart about everything in their life. Right. I'm waiting for Gary to whatever he's doing. But Chris, in the meantime, why don't you say what happened, how it, I've already said what happened, but how it made you feel, and so on. So to give us some insight here.
Sure. And Gary said it was his great grandmother Kate.
Oh, okay. Oh, great grandmother. All right. Okay. See, I don't always get the story right, so that's good. It's great grandmother Kate who did that, who pretty much saved his hide. Okay, Chris. All right. So
All right. So when you and I were on a short phone call and you had to interrupt the call to walk over to the door because you were waiting for the delivery person to even find your package.
I
And
could see
that's
it
when
rooting around in the truck looking for it.
yeah. So you were totally away from your iPad.
Well, I was
Um,
totally away from you, also from listening to you, really, or aware of what was going on.
Right, and then so on I have an iPhone, obviously that's where you do FaceTime. When you call somebody when you have an iPhone, you see their picture in the full frame and you see yourself up in a little corner in the small frame when you're holding your phone. And I was holding the phone on the outside frames. I wasn't touching the screen or anything. And then all of a sudden I see these balloons fill my whole little screen where I am, and I'm like, initially I thought that has to be Mike because it's Mike's birthday. And then I thought, did I just imagine that? And then I thought, Mike, if that's you, do it again.
Yeah, couldn't believe it the first time. Do it again. Let me make sure.
Well, I really wanted to snap a picture of it, but anyway, and that's when I just like you just there's a knowing in you. It's sort of between your heart and your solar plexus. That's this real gut kind of feeling like this is real and nobody's going to change your mind that it's not real.
Right.
And that's when I had to confirm, and I said, Rosemary, did you just see those balloons? And then she's like, wait a minute, because she was getting her package from the guy, and then she was already talking to either Gray Eagle or Mike. And after we finished our conversation, just as Rosemary said earlier, we were just both about to hang up. All of a sudden, the screen fills again with more balloons. So I felt literally like I was a hot air balloon. Like I was just flying so high. I was so joyful. I was giddy. I was literally giddy, almost drug filled for the confirmation that he was there, and it was on his birthday, and he knew we were thinking about him. And
Spooky,
it
spooky
was
stuff, right?
it was just wonderful. And to know that he's in there in the living room with you and your dad and your brother and Gregel, I just think this is fabulous.
And the puppies, I have to tell you,
Oh, nice.
my living room is filling up as we're speaking because I actually, I'm going to tell people our conversation earlier as well because it's Halloween and usually I have one or two people here with me and, you know, we can give messages and so on and so forth. Anyway, so, you know, I said to Chris, I don't think we'll do Halloween. I think, you know, we can tell a spooky story or two. And of course the balloon thing came up and then I was reminded of Gary. I've got a big sack full of spooky stories, but that we can tell. But I said to Chris, let's just, because, you know, I promised people I would give them an exercise because, you know, I've had so many people over the last several months telling me how depressed they are, how awful life is, and so on and so forth. We were talking this morning on the show, and I'm saying, you know, it's very, very difficult once you get into that frame of mind. You go down that slippery slope, and you get into that negativity. You know, and I had a client this week who, you know, didn't matter what I said to her, she, you know, she was adamant that she didn't care anymore. She'd given all her stuff away. She, you know, she was sort of less than lethargic about life. She was depressed. She'd had a bad situation happen to her, and you know, and I was, you know, talking about, and especially this morning, talking about ways to find the joy in life. So I decided, which we will do, and I will give you this exercise, but it's going more and more into Halloween as we talk, because, and I had decided, no, let's, and I said to Chris, no. And she said, and even when just before we started the show, she said, Rosemary, you promised people it was a Halloween show. And I said, well, it's not going to be. So too bad. But obviously, Grey Eagle and Mike and my daddy and everybody here, the room is filling up. And she said, so does that mean you're going to not have any spiders crawling across the floor and you're not going to have any weird stuff, which is often what happens on Halloween when my dad starts to play tricks. And I already did say at the beginning of this show, no tricks. You know, it's with my grandson, he's going for the treats. There are no tricks. Well, who was wrong about that? Well, me. I was totally wrong about that. I found something in my top. I've no idea what it is. Anyway, so it's right. So yeah, no tricks. So, but I'm wrong because I do have a creepy crawly or two. You know, thanks to my dad, and I think Mike just placed some sort of really weird, I don't know what they are. Just you guys go play by yourself. They're obviously pulling out the furry caterpillars and the big black spider. No. I just had my dad put a great big black giant spider in my, you know, they're just fun at Halloween. I'm glad to hear that they're having fun, but we are not going to be, we're not, they can do it. I'm not buying into this. I'm moving on. Anyway, so I know that you were disappointed when you shared the story this morning. You were disappointed, and because, you know, there are people who don't buy into this stuff. But you know, when I hear people do that, I mean, obviously you were joyful, obviously you were excited, obviously you were saying, guess what happened? Let me tell you what happened. Oh no, 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 no. They're not. They're being without even realizing it. I think they're being really insensitive. And let's face it, we can all be insensitive. Because what they're doing is, they're explaining, no, no, this is how it, you must have done something, well, Rosemary must have done something. And what they're doing is they're sucking away the joy. And when you're mourning for someone, which you still are, obviously, and you will always be for Mike, when you are trying to find a way through the loss of someone who is very special to you, to have people just let it be. You don't have to, it's like, just let it be. Just say, well, I think that's wonderful that you believe that. Enough, that's it. Because it is wonderful to believe it. And I know that there are many of you out there who have lost someone, and I know how frustrated you feel when you try to share what you feel, and if you've had an experience in the night, or you've heard somebody whispering in your ear or whatever it is, and you try to tell people, and the people there who are telling you, no, 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 it's your imagination. This is grief talking. I love that one. This is grief talking. No, it isn't. It's real, and we who have our eyes wide open and see these things and understand these things, we have to understand, no matter how fabulous and wonderful and joyful it is for all of us, you cannot convince other people. So please stop trying. Chris said to me, well, I want to share the joy. No, 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 no. That's nice. You want to make other people feel joyful. That's nice. But you're not going to do it. And these things happen, and they happen for us. And if other people respond and say, that's great, that's fabulous, that's wonderful, it's wonderful for us. But if they turn around and say, oh, no, just get real, then get real, or no, this is your grief talking, or look, you're depressed, and so on. So move on. Don't try to convince them. Take the experience for yourself. It was given to you. Take the experience for yourself and find joy in it. And those people who are the naysayers, which there are so many, those people who are the naysayers, let them be, because they're happy in their lives. They don't want to change. They don't want to think that these things are a possibility. And, they're going to stick to their path. So we need to stick to our path and to understand and to be joyful. And Mike is blowing us kisses, Chris. Both of us, I have to tell you, that I'm getting kisses as well. How about that? I'm
That's
sharing.
awesome.
He's blowing us kisses and agreeing with us completely. And for those of you listening who don't know Mike and Chris came to many of my workshops, many of my evenings, many of my lectures. They saw for themselves the messages that were given and the people whose lives were transformed by the evidence that was given to them. And so, Mike is, I was going to say 100% in, but I try 1,000% in with this. And thank you so much. And he has a gift for me, which is a small green caterpillar that he's holding his hand, and it's just for me. There we are. You know what happens to caterpillars, don't you?
Transform.
They transform into butterflies. So I will take it. Right. All right. Who's on? Do we have any questions? Does Gary want to say anything else? Anybody else got stories for us? Let's go, Chris.
Yeah, Gary hasn't said anything else from that point forward. The first comment, other than a ton, and I do mean a ton of hellos, and it's good to see you here, and happy Halloweens, and even happy birthday, Mike, is from Dark Rose. Oh my
Okay.
gosh. Hello, Rosemary. It's been a very long time since I was here, but it's your friend from Wales, Sarita? Sierida? How are you? I hope you've been well.
Give me a bit more information.
I will if
Give me a bit more information. My friend from Wales. I have a few friends in Wales. Which part of Wales? When did we meet? What's going on? Do you have a story for us? Okay, Chris, keep going.
Cheryl says, I wish I could see out of Rosemary's eyes tonight. Laugh out loud.
Yes.
Sandra is saying, I believe you and I'm jealous. I hope my
Hold
son
on.
is with me tonight.
Is this Cheryl from I want to say Singapore, but I'm not
I
sure if I'm.
can't tell.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, Cheryl, let me know. Or are you another Cheryl? Because we have Cheryls in England also. We have lots of Cheryls. Okay, and so the lady who just she's with her son tonight.
Where did we go here?
Sorry, I know you have to scroll back up.
Sandra said, I believe you and I'm jealous. I hope my son is with me tonight.
Oh, yes. Well, I think you know. Oh, wait a minute. So, I'm not quite sure. So, Grey Eagle is actually with your son right now. Give me 1 second here. No, not quite. Um, I see. I see. Right. I wish I had more time with this. I think I've got this right, my darling. I think your son is sending a message. He sees you. He sees clearly. He sees you. Um, it's not just that he's with you. It's not just that our loved ones in the spirit world are with us. They see us, they hear us, and they talk to us. And the message is, you listen to me, and don't strive to do it. Don't work hard to do it. When you lay your head on the pillow, I see the tears. Then listen to me. So I think that when you what he's saying is, when you're nicely relaxed and you're probably about to go to sleep and you're emotionally tuned in, they might be those times that your son is going to absolutely show you that he's with you. I'm asking Gregor, did I get it right? And I didn't get it quite right, but that's pretty much. Okay, Chris.
Judith is saying, I remember Mike was with you for the extravaganza, the Halloween extravaganza last year.
Yes. Well, you can't put a good man down, is what I'm saying.
Eric says the 3 times rule.
Right. If you see it once, maybe it's okay. If you see it twice, pay more attention. And if you see it, when I say see, I mean hear, sense, be aware in every sense. A third time, accept it. Simply accept it. Having said that, Eric, we actually only saw the balloons twice, but we accept it. So we totally accept it. But I use that 3-time rule in just about pretty much any time in my life with any situation. I use the 3-time rule. For instance, if I'm chastising my daughter or my grandson, I'll tell you once, pay attention. I'll tell you twice. Now, come on, seriously. If I have to tell you a third time, you're not going to like it. I use that 3-time rule in every area of my life. And this brings me to the 3 chairs. So I'm going to give you all this exercise that I would have my students do. I'm going to go through it. I'm not going to take a long time with it, because you can this is recorded, and you can go back and you can get it, and you can listen to it to your heart's content. You can stop it, start it, pause it, whatever it is you do. When it goes up onto YouTube, I think you would find it. Anyway, so I'm going to give you this this little exercise. This is for those of you who are struggling. This is for those of you who need to figure out a way to find positivity, or to deal with your life, because it's being a little bit cruel to you right now. And this is also excuse me, an exercise for anyone who wants to be inspired. So I'm going to tell you what I would do with my class. So we'd have a class, and Chris, you might have seen this. Gary definitely saw it. I'm not sure that either of you was ever in the hot seat, but I would choose a student. And so I'd pick a student, and I'd put that student in a chair, singular chair, not three chairs. I'd put the student in a chair, and the first thing that I would ask, which I'm going to ask all of you, just I'm telling the story, but just then, after all of this, visualize that I'm asking you, that you are the student in my chair, and I want you to do this exercise. Okay, so the first chair, I want you to tell me a story, the most devastating. I want you to tell me a story about the most devastating, the most painful, or the most awful thing that happened to you. I want you to tell this story in a way that those of us who are listening will really feel and understand some of your feelings when this was happening to you. And, the idea is to to make us understand quite clearly and realistically how painful this was for you, to the point where it might bring tears to our eyes. Okay. Now, it might take you a minute or two. Usually, when you sit someone in the hot seat and you ask them this particular question in this one chair, you're asking them that question. Usually, people there's that one story you might tell over and over again to your family, to your friends, to your loved one. It's that one story that was so painful to you, and it will come to mind fairly quickly. So you tell the story. Now, don't be long-winded about this. I'm only, I'm in a class here. We've only got 5 minutes for each story. So this is the sad chair, and I put you in the sad chair, and you're going to tell me a sad story, but it has to be a story that happened to you. Never mind anybody else. This is a sad story, and this happened to you. Okay. So you tell that story. And that story can be so sad or so painful that the listeners can really feel what you went through, and how awful it was for you. Now, once you've done that story, I'm now going to put you in the happy chair. You don't have to move to the next chair. This is just an idea. So now I'm taking you out of the sad chair. I'm going to put you in the happy chair. And now I want you to tell me a story that is going to make me laugh, that maybe even will make me joyful. I want you to tell me a story of the happiest moments. However, the story has to be exactly the same story that you told me in the sad chair. But now, instead of looking for all the painful stuff, I want you to tell that story, the same story that you just told me, but I want you to tell that story and find something in that story that at the very least makes you smile or makes you chuckle. Because no matter how awful something is, there's always this moment of, even if it's wry humor, even if it's that you're sort of pulling out of that story something that made you smile, even if you didn't want to or you didn't feel like it, I want you to come up with at least 2 or 3 things about the story, that same sad story that you just told me, but you're now in the happy chair. And I want you to tell me that story, and I want you to find, if you can, the humor, or the, even if it's only slight, the slight smile. It might have to do with someone who helped you through that sad time. It might be something that was ironic and made you laugh even though you shouldn't laugh. You know what I'm talking about, but I want you to tell me that same story that you told me in the sad chair, but now I want to find you, I want you to find some sort of something in there that makes me smile at the very least, okay? That makes you smile about that story at the very least, okay? All right, you've got 5 minutes to do that, so you tell me that story. And I can tell you this. When I put people in the sad chair, it's easy, so easy. We can all find the pain. We can all find the trauma. We can all find the tears. It's easy to do because it hurts us so badly, and it's easy for us to remember these things, okay? When we come to finding something that we can at least smile about in that sadness and in that pain, it's not easy. And I say to people, it's easy until it isn't easy anymore. But you can do it. And I push and prod my students. So I want you to imagine I'm pushing and prodding you to find a little bit of light in the darkness, just a shred, just a tiny little sliver of light in that darkness. Remember, it's Halloween, so we're talking spooky stuff. So there might be something spooky in your sad story that you can have a bit of a chuckle about now. But okay, so I want you to find a sliver of light in the sad story, and then you've got 5 minutes to tell that story. And now we're moving on to the third chair. What could the third chair possibly be? Well, the third chair is the inspirational chair. I want you to tell me a story that inspires me. I want you to tell me a story that inspires you. I want you to tell me a story where I can feel, and you make me feel, and I know that you feel that you've maybe learned something or discovered something, or you have an epiphany. I want you to inspire me, and I want you to inspire you. However, here is the catch. The story, you know what I'm going to say, don't you? The story has to be the same story that you tell me in the sad chair, that you tell me in the happy chair, and now I want you to tell me in the inspirational chair. Because here's the deal, the point of this exercise. No matter how awful things are, no matter how life can really throw us a curveball, no matter how painful it can be, there is always a tiny sliver of light. There's always something, even if it's wry humor, even if you find yourself, sort of, find some humor, something, some glimmer of humor, some glimmer of fun, because it is a way of helping you to deal with the pain and to deal with the sadness that you have experienced. When I put you into the inspirational chair, well, you start to understand that, I tell this story so often with my group of students at one Christmas. And we used to have this little old lady with no teeth. She'd come and she'd complain that I had too many teeth in my mouth for her. And she'd literally come into my body. She'd use my body. She'd use my voice box, and she would talk to the students. And you would know that even if it sounded somewhat similar to my voice, it really didn't sound like my voice. And she hated the fact that I had all these teeth that she had to deal with. Anyway, she came to the students and she said, if I could give you a gift for Christmas, what could it be? And many of you have heard me tell this story before. And my students all, happy families, peace in the world, all of those things that you're expected to say at Christmas time. And she came back at them and she said, if I could give you a gift for Christmas, I would give you the gift of tears. I would give you the gift of pain. And I would give you the gift of heartache. Because it is only through those things that you will learn and that you will grow and that you will discover. Now, when you're going through the pain, the tears, the heartache, you don't want to know, do you? Who cares? I don't want to learn. I just want this over. But as you get through it and as you learn and you grow and you move forward, you understand that without the gift of tears, without the gift of pain, and without the gift of heartache, we don't learn. It is the tough teachers in our lives. It is the tough experiences. It is the tough lessons in our lives through which we learn and through which we grow and we gain compassion and we become stronger and we become better. We become kinder. We become more empathetic towards other people. But there are people who, like a client I had this week, could not. She wasn't ready to see. I couldn't have put her in the three chairs because she wouldn't have sat in them. She wouldn't have done this exercise because she's holding on to the pain and the bitterness and the anger and the sadness. But when you sit in the sad chair and you tell your story and you're reliving the pain and the heartache, and then you sit in the happy chair. I mean, I can remember the first time I did this with my class, and when I said, in the happy chair, and the guy who sat in this chair, and remember him to this day, he's thinking, oh yeah, I can tell some funny stories now because I'm done with the sad. But when I said, but it has to be the same story, everybody was confused. Everyone was puzzled. You're probably listening to this and you're confused and puzzled as well. However, the point of this exercise is to help you to find a way through the darkness towards, and humor does that for us. Laughter does that for us. Joy does that for us. And then when you sit in the third chair, it's about what you've learned and what inspired you and how you can inspire other people. So there is your exercise. That's it. We're going back to Halloween. It's getting a little dark in here. Have you noticed the lights? It's all sorts of spooky stuff going on here. Anyway, Chris, what have we got? Who's next?
All right. Wendy says, I'm loving this show. The tradition in my neighborhood is for all of us to sit on our front porches to wait for the kiddos. Ralph is at work, so you are all keeping me company. Thank you.
Well, good. I know that, the first time I did Halloween with Samantha in New York, and Reese was just a little boy, and we walked the streets. It was amazing, especially in the village, the amount of effort and time and that people take to decorate their houses, and they're all sitting on their steps, as you just said, and people are talking to each other and laughing and happy and having fun, and there's lots of trick or treating going on, lots of candies flying around the place. It's amazing, and we can have lots and lots of fun on our trick or treating, and but I'm not sure. All of my visitors here tonight want to do the tricks. The spiders crawling. I mean, I can see a huge caterpillar coming from the bottom of my dad's feet out here, coming along the carpet, and I'm just laughing because it's like, and oh, okay, thanks a lot. And I think that was Mike tickling the back of my neck here. But anyway, so I'm having a spooky time. I don't know about all of you, but I'm having a little bit of a spooky time. I realise that it's getting so dark in here and there are no lights on. I'm going to disappear into the chair. All you're going to see is this headless woman talking in a minute. Because can you see I'm blending into the sofa?
I was just going to say, you might have to get up and turn on a light.
Well, do you think I should? Maybe I will. Let me just.
Yeah.
Let me just do that, because I would hate for you not to see me. Okay, hold on 1 second.
Do you want me to read something while you're?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So this is from Maggie. Maggie says, my dad made some nurses take a double take when my mom was in hospice. They said they were seeing him in the hallway talking to the nursing home occupants. I told the nurses my father had passed. My mom was the one that would scoff at me if I said anything. I wonder how she's thinking now that she's passed.
Well, I do know, you know, I can remember, gosh, years ago, another spooky story coming up here. I remember I was sort of at this evening, there was a huge audience of people, and a guy came through from the spirit world, and he wanted to give a message to his family who were in the audience. And at some point, he's talking about when he died, and he, and he was, when he had his funeral, just to sort of go back a little bit, I had uh, three women who came for a consultation with me. They were in my house, and this guy came through to them. He was, and they were surprised because they said, "Oh, we didn't expect him to come here today because it's his funeral. We thought he'd be at his funeral." And the guy said, "Well, actually, I went to the funeral. Nah, forget that. I'd rather be here and having fun with you." So, I think that we all have personalities. Everybody's different. Everybody has a way of dealing with stuff. But I think, and so many people in the spirit world who laugh and say to me, "I didn't believe in any of this," and now here I am trying to connect with with my family to tell them that I'm here and that I'm okay. So anyway, all right, moving on, Chris, let's keep going.
All right, Judith says, I was overcome with the presence of my mother this afternoon. Her presence was stronger than I have ever felt. She was with me that strongly for about 3 or more minutes. It was a warm hug.
Oh, nice. Lovely, Judith. Look, see, Chris is getting balloons. You're getting warm hugs. I'm getting spiders and caterpillars. That's what I can tell you. Oh, thank you. And hearts and flowers. That's what I'm getting. All right, keep going.
All right, Cheryl says massacre sites are spooky places. I was at one in New York State just looking around and had to use the quote bathroom, which was just like an outhouse. Something freaked me out in there, just a feeling that I had to get out of there, and I came flying out so fast. My best friend or boyfriend said my face was almost white.
Was that good? It was a good experience or not a good experience? It sounds like a fun experience to me. And speaking of sort of haunted places and spooky places, Chris and I have talked about this, but what with her health and my health and the hurricane and all that stuff going on, we haven't yet got around to it. But hopefully in the new year, if anybody knows of a spooky place that we can go visit, and don't send me all over the world, and don't send me, I just want somewhere fairly local, and there are some fairly local places to us here in Florida. We thought we'd sort of go on a ghost hunt, and Chris can use the camera and we'll film it for you. And of course, there's no guarantees we'll see anyone or hear anyone, but hey, you never know. So we're going to be doing a couple of ghost hunts, hopefully, in sometime in the coming year.
All right, the next one's from another Wendy. Yay, I finally got to see you live. Hello from Brisbane, Australia. Hope you are well, Rosemary.
I
My
am.
my dad passed recently. Is he okay? Do you have any messages? And is he with my mom?
Yes, he's well. I'm listening to Grey Eagle now. He has his hand on my shoulder. Is that creepy? Is that spooky when I say those things? Of course it's not. It's perfectly normal and perfectly natural for me. But so yes, he is well. Yes, he is with your mother. Yes, he's with the family. So not just your mom. He's, apparently everyone's there. Everyone nice and everyone good is there. I'm laughing. And love is the message. I wish I had more time. When we do Grey Eagle Speaks, we're going to have 3 hours, and we're going to be giving messages, and we're going to be hearing from Gregor, hopefully. And we're going to be, taking more time with all of this stuff. So, as I said this morning, we will be limiting tickets, and we are doing a Christmas special, so that the price of the tickets will be under $100. I'm not quite sure how much under. We normally would, charge much more for this, but I wanted, because, especially because we had to cancel the live event, which was sad because of the hurricane. We've had to cancel so many things because of, situations with me, and situations with the hurricane, and situations with Chris. So I feel that we should do some sort of a Christmas special. So Gradle Speaks is on December the 14th. It will be on a Saturday. It will go from 10 in the morning until 1 p.m. So that's 3 hours. If you're in Australia, I'm not sure quite what time it'll be there for you. I'm talking Eastern Standard Time, but I do know that people get out of bed and wake themselves up and get out of bed to have this experience. And there'll be lots of time for giving lots of messages, and we're going to have a fun time. So if you do want to participate, you need to email. Just put it in the subject line, Grey Eagle Speaks, so that we can process, the questions and so on and so forth, and how do you get your tickets and all of that stuff. So we can process all of that. So if you want to, my advice to you is, we're limiting this because, you can't promise hundreds of people that you're going to give them messages. Even if only 20 people are in the chat room, we can't promise that everybody's going to get a message. Whoever gets a message gets a message. But I always say, when you see someone or you'll hear someone get a message, that message is for you as well. So you never give a message which is just for that one person. It's for everyone. So anyway, all right. So you need to watch for that. Go on the website and or email us, Rosemary at rosemaryaltea.com, or Chris at rosemaryaltea.com, and you email us, and we'll do our very best to accommodate your questions. Is it getting darker and darker? Can you not see my face anymore?
Yeah, you need a light at your face. It's all behind you now.
Oh,
But you're coming up on 7 o'clock. So if you want to
well,
do
that's
just
it. So I'm not going to get up. See, this is spooky time. It's spooky. What is around? My dad is here. My brother's waving at me, blowing me kisses. We've got spiders and we've got caterpillars. We've got some sort of wormy thing. I don't know what that is. Let's not even worry about that. Let's have another couple of questions. Keep going, Chris.
All right. So your friend from Wales, Dark Rose, says, "You've given me a message from my grandmother a while ago. You kept asking me how well I could sing. I live in the Midwest Wales in
I know.
Aberystwyth."
Never, don't bother, Chris. You'll never.
I murder these words.
I think it
I
might be Aberystwyth, maybe.
Yes,
Um,
yes. I always used to come in and say how lovely you always look, as you do now.
I know exactly who you are, and and the reason I'm asking, any Welsh person out there worth their salt can either sing or they have family who can sing, because they have the best voices. It's got something to do with the mountain air or something like that. And of course, I'm very much part Welsh. My father, all of my father's side of the family are Welsh through and through, and I'm not going to sing to you tonight, but I have a very strong voice, and I always feel that it came from the valley. Anyway, or the valleys, should I say. All right, keep going, Chris.
All right. Cheryl
Thank
says,
you.
another spooky story for me was after seeing The Exorcist at age 15. I just could not shake that feeling of evil following me, and plugs kept falling out of the walls.
Oh my. Ooh, well, we're not going down that evil track. Um, uh, but let's have the next, keep going, next question or comment there.
The next one is from Chrissy. Happy Halloween. I miss my mom so much. Her birthday is Saturday. Is she with me?
Chrissy, you know, why are you asking me the question you already know the answer to, but I will give you the answer, which is, of course, yes. And happy birthday to her. So we're celebrating some birthdays here tonight. Okay, anything else going on?
Sandra says, I've gotten so many orbs in pictures from St. Augustine, Florida,
Oh,
in the
yes.
old fort. It may be a good place to go.
Well, I've been to St. Augustine, and in fact, I went with a friend, and my intention was to sort of, have a little ghost hunting trip. But I actually found it very disappointing. Either nobody was home that day, or they just didn't want to speak to me, or whatever was going on. But I was very, very disappointed with my trip. Although St. Augustine is beautiful, and the old buildings there are amazing. So I'm certainly not going back. Thank you for the suggestion, but I'm not going back to St. Augustine's. I'm sort of thinking maybe some Indian mounds around here, although unfortunately many of them were washed away by the hurricane. But nevertheless, I'm thinking we could find something a little bit more local to us, so we don't have to travel for hours and hours and hours. But anyway, any suggestions from any of you are very welcome. And of course, we could also do it virtually. I could actually go to any place in the world. Now then, here is the thought. I could go to any place in the world and astral travel. I could go down and back and through the hole to that place on camera from my own sitting room, because I've done it so many times. Maybe we could do it that way, Chris. There's a thought.
There we go.
I have to explore that avenue. Okay. All right. So anything else before we close? It feels as if this hour has sped by, but.
Oh, yeah. Last one here from Penelope. My dear mother passed away in 2010. She shared your books with me and she loved you. Do you have any messages?
Oh, love, lots and lots and lots of love. I think that's a wonderful place to end the show. And thank you very much for sharing that with us. It's funny because it is true that the book has been out now. So whenever it was, a couple of years ago, we celebrated the 25th anniversary of The Eagle and the Rose. Can you believe it's been 25 years since we published that book? 25 years. And it's still going, and it's a generational thing. It sort of goes from generation to generation to generation. There's so many people who say, "Oh, my dad shared the book with me," or my my older sister shared the book with me. And it's if you haven't read the book, read the book. The Eagle and the Rose by Rosemary Altea is the best ever. It's a great book. I know I'm blowing my own trumpet, but remember that I have help writing. So I had help writing it, and I have help from the spirit world with all of their fabulous and wonderful stories. I want to say to everyone, here's a message from my daddy. Lots of love to all of you. Lots of love to me. My brother is explaining how he loves to watch me do this. That's interesting. My puppies are just lying down or sitting up and looking at me. We've got a great household here. No spiders, no, they've all disappeared on me. So, so that's done. So they've stopped playing tricks on me. But of course, the last message goes to Chris from Mike. Lots of love. And he loves you so much. And he says, and don't doubt. Don't let the doubters dampen your faith. Okay. All right. So the very last message is from myself and Grey Eagle. Thank you so much for joining us. We've loved having you. Thank you, Gary, for allowing me to share your story, even though I didn't ask you beforehand, but you've allowed me to share it before. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you to all of you. Please, everyone, have a very, very blessed rest of the evening. Happy Halloween. I think that's, can you say Happy Halloween? Of course you can. And please, everyone, have a very